correct? And he wasn't just debating me completely, and it's not even almost close to that. So I'll call him Arthur until somebody in chat tells me that's wrong, and I have to call him something else. How about that? That seems reasonable enough. We are in game now. We will get some in-game sound as well in just a moment as the plane is taking to the sky once again. I mean, I've got to say these planes, they have been well, I mean, they have been rather fair throughout. They've been pretty fair throughout the tournament so far. We haven't had those crazy southern planes to a big extent. So for the most part, at least, things have been pretty straightforward when it came to the piloting. Sure, circles have been a little rough every now and again, but as far as the planes go, they've been well, I mean, at least for the most part, pretty even for everyone. Fenerbahce seems to me like they're going down towards the military island. That's not something we see them do too often, but they realize they don't want to jump around on the east coast. They'll probably look to get vehicles here and drive over the bridge towards the west coast, which would be a rotation that makes sense. Only issue for them could potentially be, should Venconas decide to try and beat them to it, then they could hold them off on the bridge should they be able to get weapons quickly enough. You see BSD and Kalimdor, they're landing up north, probably going for vehicles, and then they'd be making their way over towards, we can just look at here, going over here, or on the other side, and then make their way over towards the west side of the island. But of course, as you can see as well, if they want to do that, they're gonna be in for a hurry, because it's gonna be triggering already now. This is interesting. Unseen is trying to get himself some kills with the buggy, already losing a reel trying to do so. Fortunately, Sonk was was able to get on up there with the auto shotty and scare off the intruder. So interesting start to the game. We have had, I mean, honestly, throughout this entire tournament, we've had very, very interesting early games. There's always been something happening. People have always been fighting. Even though you'd think at this point the lobby is kind of settled and teams have figured out, okay, this team goes here, I go there, and all that stuff. Even with that in mind, we've still seen multiple teams fight each other where you think, That was a surprise. I wasn't expecting those two teams to fight here. But we did see the circle. We see it on the top of your minimap down there in the corner as well. The white line going all the way through. It is going to be an eastern circle. And we've had a few of those before. And what we talked about sometimes is that, well, I mean, obviously all the teams are just going to be slamming it down towards Lumber Mill, because that's where it always ends. But then again, you don't want to overcommit too hard to predicting where a circle is going to go. Don't want to commit too hard to trying to predict early on where the circle is going to go. You want to set yourself up in a position where you can get some rotations going forward while still being in a spot that should the circles go towards you, you have something to play around. But we'll see, of course, how all these teams, they manage to maneuver their way down towards it once it all comes down to the teams actually rotating. Fenerbahce, they probably wanted to go west coast, but they realized with the circle there's no point in trying to do that, so they'll just take a little bit of trash loot, which isn't really trash loot. I mean, we've upped the loot, obviously. You can see they got ARs as well. Both Zonk and Shaxi has the weapons they need, so it's not really trash loot, but it's just kind of the scatter looting, compound looting that we see a lot of these teams prioritizing to do actually these days. Draco, they had themselves a second place and actually 2 second places yesterday. Clearly things went their way, but well, I mean, as long as AK's skills lands these type of shots, then it's not going to be easy. Headshot connected on towards T-Toxic with the mini far way out as well. And well, it seems to me like there's no Draco players around to help him, and that AK's skills might just be able to collect himself the first kill of the game. T-Toxic is crawling around down here like, maybe if I stay completely still, he won't be able to hear me. But it seems to me like AKA Skills knows exactly what to go for. No, not even a UMP, Uzi, and a that's interesting. Uzi and a Mini 14. That's not normally the setup you see, but yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, he only gets to loot one building, so fortunately he hit the shots with the Mini, because landing those shots on a vehicle with an Uzi more often than not won't really connect. Memo is getting looted up. The guys in Pochinki will have to figure out how do we get those last 3, make that I think maybe 9 points to get up into the top 8. They had a win yesterday with a lot of kills to it. They even won that game, I believe, without losing a single player. So a very, very impressive game. And then this guy, Arthur, you say his name is Arthur. I would like the chat to confirm that this is the CIS way of writing Arthur. Let's hope that it's correct. So I don't get that wrong again. Trico taking out Merit, and that's the second player down for Draco off of their first rotation. Sure, they had far to go, but that is not the type of start you want to have at all. At all. That is a very, very rough way to kick things off. Nisa is going for the long rotation in. There'll be plenty of room for it, I would assume, as well. So no real issues there. They're coming in from the far north side. Probably opted to go over Yasnaya and see if they can make their way down. They can see in the logos in the horizon that there are teammates further up ahead that have scouted forward. So Misa should be able to, woo, as long as he doesn't flip, should be able to get it done. But no, Misa, you need to find yourself a new car. Misa. Nate the vehicle, see if you can spin it around. Hopefully that's gonna work out for you. Odin all by himself. He lost 2 teammates early. And Draco, they do not want to go down just 6 minutes into the game. That would be absolutely horrible. Call me God, taking shots towards him as well. Knockout Gaming, they as well have had a rough time in this tournament. They had a little slimmer of a moment where like, oh my God, they might actually get something going here. But then all of a sudden things started falling apart again. And look at this, Aaliyah. I like this play. Aaliyah clearly heard a player running around above and called in, guys, I could use some help over here. So it looked like Drone is the one making his way over to help out. Grows a full level 3 med kit and a attack stock. Interesting crate right there. Now shots are indeed being fired, and it's going to be Drone to take down Odin. So 3 out of 4 players from Draco eliminated, completely separate from one another. That is a rough start to the games today. They needed a hell of a good game if they want to get into top 8, and this is just not up in their favor. I mean, they lose a guy to a headshot with a Mini 14 on a rotation, then they lose a guy number 2 far out in the open, and now they lost Odin as well. So John Leroux somehow has to pull off a majestic one-man performance if he wants to be able to do anything here. Oh, Tony, that's a double headshot coming in from Arthur. Great connected shots, and it was once again, I mean, this is also what we've seen from Art of War so many times. Of course, they can't really, I mean, it's hard to really do anything to prevent this happening, but just, I mean, they have lost players early on rotations, forced them into 3-man situations late game so many times in the tournament here. They've just been really unfortunate. And in situations like this where you don't get shot at, it's really hard, if not near impossible, to predict that there's going to be someone around you. And as soon as you go into the vehicle, boom, you get popped off. There's just not a whole lot you can do in that situation. Huge potential. Well, they're taking their boat. 4 guys in it. They're not in a hurry at all. They knew it was going to be East Coast, so why not just swing all the way around the side of Milter Power and get on in there. Vinconas, they had themselves a win yesterday, but they're not safe either just yet. Now Art of War, they're going to continue their rotation on forward. Where are they going? They stopped to scout in the dip, but oh, Ben, you don't want to start crashing there. There was a very, very, very sturdy wooden bench, and it kept him from driving. Now he is continuing forward, but they cannot risk losing one more player this early. Unfortunately, not happening. He does manage to get in safely, and Memo's going to take the car and try and drive it in by the broken wall as well, so that they can guarantee themselves some sort of cover. We get Fenerbahce as well. Fenerbahce is holding off Kebabs, but now with the circle going further north, they might have to figure, is it really going to be worth it for us to sit here on the bridge and wait for them, or should we just get going? Because the more time we spend trying to hold out Kebabs, the more, well, potentially the more of an issue it could become for us trying to rotate in later on. Riddle taking down one. Yordale, though, immediately getting the run over in return. So a bit of a confrontation happening as Airwaves tries to prevent Riddle from making them move on out. Now I assume on the side he gets the knockdown on towards Yordale, and it's gonna be Riddle. Oh, Handy Bro, that's not what you want to have happen. Is Handy Bro DC'd? Handy Bro? It seems to me like he has indeed DC'd. That is a rough time to not be able to do anything for him. Feels very, very bad, man. Final 4 games coming in and then have something like that happen. Unfortunate, but that must have been the only reason why. So he got knocked off, Hannibro taken down, Yordale got taken down as well, and they also lost Clip. So losing 3 guys on the very first rotation there, not the kind of start you want to have to this at all. Of course, I mean, Riddle there sitting, well, I mean, somewhat well in it, but again, as I said before, I mean, if teams that aren't in the top 8 yet can continue to have insane performances like we saw out of War yesterday, get a 22-point win, then there's no saying. I mean, even if you're sitting in top 5 right now, it's just 3 teams that have to surpass you, and boom, all of a sudden, you're down and out. So hopefully they'll get things going in the final 3 games. Minox and Apex as well have had a bit of a rough start to the tournament, and now with the final day here, well, I mean, they need to start delivering if they want to have any chances of winning out in this tournament. Clip getting finished off, not a whole lot more to it than that. He's down and out. So Riddle relying on their 1 remaining player, Wizards. They're trying to hold off any rotations coming in. They have a good 2-way split. Misa finally made his way over to his teammates. So they're sitting pretty well in it. Huge potential. They, of course, made their way in towards the Lipovka area. I mean, they came in with boats, so not a whole lot more to it than that. And Kebabs, they seem like they have made their way on over as well. So, nobody left on military. Everything is pretty straightforward. Mimo now getting knocked by Test. That's Venkona's getting in on the action. They played so passive. Oh, Kalimdor running over himself. That's a rough rotation for him. And this is again one of those things that there's just not room for in these tournaments. So they lose Tony early on, and now Mimo goes down as well. Really tough break for Out of War. They're sitting in 10th place right now, just outside of the top, and they truly need to get things going. Kalimdor gets finished off as well, so maybe he didn't knock himself as much as maybe someone popped the wheels on his bike, could be the case. But down he goes nonetheless. Appeal. Trying to see if we can spot anyone in the open. SLI Hand Beast of a DMR, and they're looking up towards airwaves. Of course, they heard them shoot before when they held off Riddle, and now all airwaves. They're trying to see if they can get themselves into a better position before the new circle pops. It's only circle 2 because circle 3 is gonna pop in just a short moment. It could go anywhere. And let's see where indeed it will take us. It goes hard north. Okay, interesting. There's nobody out on the right side of the road. We pretty much only have Knockout Gaming sitting out there. And they're like currently extremely split. You have 2 guys sitting way out there. And then you have Help Me God and one of the other teammates sitting, well, as you can see, by yellow houses south of Yasnaya. So they're spread extremely far apart. And it's, well, you see them rotating now. Vincona's getting in there on your map. On your screen, the small logos there in the distance, they're rotating, and so everybody now trying to figure out how in the universe do we get out to the east, because not only do they have to get out there, but they have to get out there without getting taken down. And we talked about it yesterday as well, how many teams are fighting early. We've already lost 13 players. Make that 14. Saxit goes down. We lost so many players already. Now Slayer goes down as well. They're trying to rotate further over, but Simpson was there ready and waiting. And, well, I mean, for Phosphor and Kovas, they're pretty much trapped up behind this rock. Sirong gets himself the first one. Sirong, just one of those long-range tappers that has been insane throughout this tournament. He was pretty much on top of the kills with alongside T-Bone. They're just sort of sharing, or they were sharing the top at least for a while. So Simpson somehow got himself a double there. So that's going to be Knockout Gaming. Taking more casualties. So 1v2 clears the compound, well done, especially considering the fact that not only is it 1v2, but he's all by himself. Like, there's no teammates anywhere. So as soon as he dies, that's going to be his teammate eliminated, or his team eliminated. Moon takes down one, Kopest, but Kopest manages to get down Appeal first. So that's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Seems like then it's all be able to finish off Kopest, though they might just be able to get the rest on. Ooh, Nate going up in the direction of Denethor, not able to get him down, though. Sirong jumps down as well. Houston is ready on the edge, but look at the HP difference. Sirong has to get the meds running. Denethor is holding the angle, gets down, and now if Houston wants to push him, there's no counterplay coming in. Does come in the end, but too late. Sirong Tries to get the finish up onto Houston. He goes down. LE are now able to third party on this. So Swarm are getting in on this. And huge potential are starting to fall apart. They lost one player earlier, and now they're in trouble yet again. Moon is all by himself alongside of him. Moon and the last remaining player all by themselves over there. And you can see Moon already getting knocked. Swarm, they're just sitting out there saying, you know what, we will completely and utterly take you down. And PEL tried to get some more points with that, but not going to happen. So huge potential. They had a smart rotation coming in on the side, but they got completely caught off by the opponents in Swarm. They thought they were the last people to leave Lepovka and make the run on up. But, well, I mean, that team came in behind them and took them down. So unfortunate, and somehow Higgy actually manages to stay alive. That was pretty impressive. Able to stay put in the rocks for at least a little while longer. Last player on his team as well. Now Circle shifting away from the water as per usual in Circle 4. There's still some spots available inside the circle. John DeWoo, last player for his team as well. There's a long way from where he is now down to a top 8, I guess you can say, placement, which he would need to get in order to get into the top, and he dies to the circle. Airwaves fighting Venconas. Airwaves and Venconas squaring off against each other. They've been shooting back and forth a little so far, and you can see already here as well on your map. There's so many teams in positions to really get things going against one another. Ghost Legion have been quiet so far. Now Arthur gets taken down. They're trying to make the push on up towards Apex. They got 3 guys down south. Goldby has been doing a lot of damage for his team as well. Pretty much one of the main damage dealers on Ghost Legion. Actually, Alpha is pushing up pretty aggressively, and he's all by himself. He needs the teammates to come up and help him, because as you can see, he's kind of split in between Trico and the other Apex players. Alpha spots out Trico, not able to get the knock on towards him, has to make the run on back. And once again, Arthur still down on his knees. He is it is the first knock though coming in for him, so not really the biggest deal. Now nades are in hand of the Apex players. And they, of course, want to see if they can secure something off of this. Goldby is trying to get over and get the rest. He only has 1 tree for cover, I believe. Maybe there's a rock over there as well. But it's trying to go for the rest. Alpha has a chance to throw some nades in the direction of the Apex team. Minox, that won't be mine on his teeth. Nope, not going to happen. It's not going to be any damage done. Second nade coming over. Just bounces off the rock there, but still enough to take down Faye. So Trico and Minox all by themselves now, 2v4. How do they pull this one off? Minox spots out one, but holy cow. Nice reaction from Alpha. Not quick enough though. Minox is there with the headshot. Takes him down low though. He has to stop and heal. And this is going to deny them from rotating out. Gets taken down immediately after Arthur is back up on his feet. And look at the way that we're seeing Ghost play. If you guys were watching, if any of you guys were watching the Contenders, Ghost Legion have stepped up. I mean, the way that they're taking these fights, the way that they're pushing the angles, making sure to push alongside one another. Well played. I mean, honestly, Ghost Legion, they have clearly been home and saying, you know what, if we want to get our spot back in Contenders, we got to work for it. And they have been, they've clearly been putting in the hours. So good job, Ghost Legion. Good job indeed. Now, Fenerbahce, Venconas still fighting one another. Song is trying to prone it out in the middle down to just 3 HP. It actually does manage to land a nade over towards Test, so a little bit of pressure applied. Shaxi and Song, I believe, are the last 2 players alive on their team, so it's going to be a tough task for them to hold off all the players coming in on the other side. Nades are continuously thrown down. Their method, wow, Andy, triple kill. That's a way to annihilate a team. Seems like BenQ actually got one of them too, but that's a way to say, nope, guys, you ain't crossing the road here, that's for sure. 3 points secured, despite the fact that they lose 2 players out of war. Still managing to get some points off of this. BenQ and Med, you see Andy and BenQ, they're sitting on the other side of the road. They know that last crew is in here. They're waiting for the circle, though. And, well, I can tell them right now, none of them will be able to make it any further if they stick around here. They have to both leave. Compound has just exactly been left outside the next circle, so they'll all have to make the run down a little further center. It is a somewhat centered circle, so for the most teams it won't be the biggest issue, but as you can see down here in the forest, that is pretty much completely excluded as well. So all these players that are currently sitting in here have to figure, do we want to push through and potentially have to fight our way out, or do we want to go back where we came from and try and run all the way around? That might just be the only option for some of these teams trying to make it out. Swarm, they're sitting down around the shack on the south side as well. They have to figure out how they want to move forward. And if I win Codas, they know there are still players alive. They took down Sunk just before, and now Shaxi all by himself. Ooh, spots a hit on one player, but there are so many more around, and he can hear all the footsteps too. All the footsteps heard. Doesn't want to shoot. If he can make them believe that they have pushed around, then that could be the play for him to make. It takes down one. Now shots are coming from the side too. Shaxi might just have started shooting too early, and he did not even get the kill on him anymore, so nothing achieved from him doing the damage there, unfortunately. Tried to make the most of it, but did not work out the way that he wanted to. And you can see right here, Andy and BenQ, they've positioned themselves. They know that they have players in the house. They're just waiting to try, or trying to, I guess you can say, to pin them down. They know they have to leave. The circle is closing in already as well. They're just waiting for them to make the run on out so they could potentially do some damage. There's other people further south that could help out Art of War in taking out Last Crew, but it's all going to be up to how Last Crew are planning on moving on. They said, do have a bike available, you can see in the back of the house there. And Andy, I mean, neither Andy or BenQ can actually sort of get knocked here, because if they do, it's going to be so hard, if not near impossible, for their teammate to come out and help. It's going to be really, really hard for any teammates to come out and help should Andy or BenQ get knocked. Sinsen has been a solo player for a while. He's just chilling up in the in the compound up north, still inside the circle, probably happy with that. Higgy as well, solo player, just laying low. Cup has got one teammate alongside him, trying to make the safe place from the compound. Help me, I saw by himself. Only 2 players on the team, and that's gonna be the second one eliminated. Mans takes him out, and that's gonna be Help Me God out alongside his teammates in knockout game. In 11th place for them, and we're continuing to see all these fights happen. It's so interesting to see how so many of these fights occur pretty much throughout the entire game. I mean, teams are fighting left and right and all over the place throughout the entire game. We don't really have that stall or that quiet moment. Throughout the entire match, people are just continuously fighting at some point or somewhere in the circle. Drone and Swarm, they're pushing up. They've had 2 days with wins on game 1. Could be interesting to see them do the same thing here. They've had 2 wins so far, and they want to, of course, secure themselves a 3rd. Circle now goes down south. The Wizards sitting in an extremely well position 2-2 split. They're on each side of the road, and they have full control of their Saki. Solo player pushes down towards his shack. Should be able to stay put, at least for a little while down there. But we'll have to see if he's going to be in a position to really be able to do something from there. Alpha and Ghost, they are not exactly in the best spot. Actually, to be honest, a rather rough one. Now the circle, now the smoke is going to disappear. YMD has thrown himself a new one, but as you can see, if you're safe in one angle, you're most likely visible on another. Gold B goes down. Test from inside glass house secures himself and knock on towards him. Cobham is trying to look behind as well. They heard shots fired in that direction earlier. Andy gets down the kill on Sinsen, so that's going to be Riddle out in 10th place. Rough first rotation for them that cost him 3 players. And, well, I mean, down in 10th place goes Riddle. Arthur taken down as well, so I believe Ghost there down to just a player or 2. Nope, they actually completely eliminated. I totally missed that, but Ghost eliminated. Diggory, last player for Last Crew, is gonna try and crawl his way, and at least now he secured himself some placement points, or a placement point, but of course he wants more than just 1 point off of this one. It's not gonna be easy though. Solo player remaining, and his long run in the open to make. Andy gets one more. One more crate for the team. Might be some little 3 gear to pick up for BenQ there as well. Airwaves eliminated. Man's taken down as the last player. And well, Phoenix, they're sitting again. They're sitting well in it. They're sitting 2 points actually outside of the top 8. So whatever he gets here could potentially be enough to push it down that 7th or 8th place team to get the lap on over. But for how long will Saki be allowed to stay put? That's the big question. We see Swarm, they're sitting 4 guys alive, good position in the circle, they have plenty of info to go from, and everyone's just waiting for that circle to force out teams. Venconas, most likely to be the first team to have to leave their position. It's not gonna be easy for them to really get anything going from there at all. T-Bone Pushing around the side. I mean, Wizards, again, they had a tough going in the contenders, but they sure have gotten this lobby under control. So many times have they found themselves late game, and so many times have they been able to not only get late game, but do it with 4 players alive, and then just do tons of damage and take down a ton of players in doing so. And because we saw so many fights happen earlier, this is where things get quiet, because this is where you'd normally see a lot of fighting going on, because there'd still be 30 players alive. But because everybody's been fighting early game, it makes so much more room for late game. We got 14 people alive at 25 minutes. That is not something you see happen very often in competitive PUBG. But because all these teams, they're fighting each other so wildly, it does mean that once we get mid game or late game, there is so much more room for teams to maneuver around. O'Connell, that's an unfortunate unfortunate knock right there. Vehicle came in with too much speed and he got himself knocked off of it. Let's see, Arrows wants to get the smokes in to get the Reservoir towards his teammate, but I think O'Connell might just be a lost cause here. Cobb secures himself to knock, and there's going to be not a whole lot more to it than that. But now, I mean, Vanconas, they have to make the run on out, right? Andy gets himself a knock on towards Elias. So that's going to be swarm down one player, and they need to apply the pressure. BenQ, though, double headshot towards him. Drone, what a great amount of connected shots, and he hits them on towards Andy as well. So out of 4, despite losing Tony, as I believe maybe the first player on the entire server, they still get a 5th place with some kills to it. So great placement, everything considered for them. Soggy is just chilling. He's not in a hurry. He's just grinding those placement points. Not going to be taking shots at anything or anyone. Vanconas, they had to leave out, and they, well, I mean, because they got down O'Connell, that gives them a little more room to rotate forward. But you can see all they really have of these smokes and a few trees, and there none of these trees, I believe, are inside the circle. Continuous shots fired. T-Bone once again dealing the damage. He's one of the main damage dealers, and he will get himself the double there as well. Coppen stolen by Broken, but Swarm and Wizards still in it. Soggy as well. Well, he's just saying, you know what, I got my top 3. I'm fine with that. I'm just gonna push my way further forward, and then most likely he won't get himself anything off of that or anything more, especially considering that nade. Boom. But Phoenix still 3rd place. I mean, that's all you can hope for. Lost 3 players really early on, but still placement points to be obtained by the Phoenix team. And as I said before, they're sitting in 9th right now, so every single point they can get in their way, it's going to be points that could be the difference maker for whether they will make it into next week or not. And for those of you guys coming in late, it's the top 8 in here. And again, if you guys keep asking the question in the chat, I'm sure that the viewers right now can answer it too. If it's the top 8 from today that will make it into the next week of games. It's going to be the same days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The same days we'll see matches, but right now this is what it's all about. Wizards and Swarm, 2 top teams in this group, have been doing so well over the last 2 days, and they're seemingly on fire here in day 3 as well. But for Swarm, it's been one of those things where they will get themselves those wins in the first game, and then the last 3 games they haven't really performed. I mean, the rotations have been a little off, and they've lost players in situations where they might not have had to or needed to. But look at this, I mean, 9 kills might just be to become a 10th. Can Talk land some good shots all by himself. Now 1v3 though. O'Connell was taken down earlier. Oh, and we see him. He's just hiding, hugging the tree here. There's no blue to run to. You're gonna have to hide it here. If you want to kill yourself, that's gonna be an 8 to the face. But he's one of those guys who will say, you know what, I ain't giving up at all. But T-Bone's saying, buddy, you might as well, because I just threw an 8 straight towards your face. Wizards take themselves another win. They were already sitting in first place, and now that lead just grew so much.